Charlie and Eddie Richardson had their scrap metal yard. And that is where it's alleged I pulled the geezer's teeth out with pliers. Well, if I had done so, when I was doing the 20 years, wouldn't it have been smashing when I could have laid on my bed and went, what a good job I made of that back molar. But it wasn't true. You know, I only wished it had been. My poor sister Eva, she was a grandmother then, about 47. The man approached her and said, Eva, we knew him well. He said, if you give me £1,000, I'll tell the truth. It didn't happen. So Eva gave him the £1,000, took him to a solicitor, and her driver was the man who was with Ronnie Kray when he shot George Connell dead, Elby Woods. He was Eva's chauffeur. Took him to a solicitor and he made a statement saying he told all lies to the police that we were innocent. And they dropped him home, and as soon as they dropped him home, he went straight to the police and said my sister threatened him. She was a grandmother, 47 years of age, you know, and she got 3 years. And Elby Woods got 3 years for perverting the course of justice. She had been a top shoplifter, my sister Eva. Wonderful shoplifter. But once she got married, she went to prison and all for it. 18 months, 6 months. But once she got married, out of love and respect for her husband, she dropped it out. I'll never forgive her, and I have to buy my own fucking shirts. I'm sorry, swearing girls, I do laugh, I'm really upset. But a lovely girl, she never moaned or complained, you know, that 3 years. And Elby Woods, he got 3 years and all. And that's where we're going to go now, where it's now a block of flats called the Leslie Prince Court. It then was called Pegford Scrap Metal Yard. And if anybody turned up there with some lead and they said to them, is it honest metal? Oh yes, that's now now, we don't want honest, we only buy crooked. No, I'm joking, most crooked. Altitude, 10 now. See that brown building if you just went by?
There's a general invitation to a party. And I mean, this isn't said on the stairs, something else like that, get Jack, we've got to get him round here and give him a slap or anything else like that. It weren't a message from Reggie Kray that he came to me and said, Chris, we want Jack to have a little bit of a sort out, you know, take him away onto Wanstead's flats and put one in the back of his head, which you would think, if they wanted to kill the man, that was the way it would be done, in a sensible way. He's done away with, he's taken away and disposed of. It was nothing like that whatsoever.
It was a crude trap for an old villain like McVitie. Hart, Tony Barry, the Lambrianos could all have warned him. Even when they failed to, he should have smelled something a little odd about this sudden invitation, but he was probably too drunk. Barry brought the gun and drove off looking scared before becoming even more involved. Young Ronnie Hart returned. Ronnie posted him as a lookout in an upstairs window facing the street. Just before midnight, Hart saw a beaten-up Ford Zodiac draw up. 5 men got out. The Lambrianos, 2 brothers by the name of Mills, and finally a man in a hat, McVitie. Hart gave the alarm. McVitie burst in, ready for a party. Where's all the birds? All the booze, he shouted. Ronnie Kray was waiting for him, watching from the sofa. Reggie was behind the door.
Where's the birds and the booze? That's the first thing he said, and then he saw Ronnie. And Ronnie just looked up, and he went, hello, Ron. And then he just walked over and hit him underneath the eye with a glass. Hey, well, I've had a fucking enough of you, now fuck off. And walked back to the television, and all of a sudden Jack was going, what have I done, what have I done?
A fight develops. No, an argument develops. Then it turns into a fight. A gun is pulled out, starts clicking away, it doesn't work.
And there's a bit of confusion. Now I'm convinced had Jack had walked out of the room after Ronnie hit him with a glass, that would have been the end of it. But he didn't.
Outside, big Chrissy Lambriano, who had always wanted to be a gangster, suddenly realised what he had done and was sitting, weeping, on the stairs.
Whatever was going down, I wanted no part of it. So I walk outside and Connie Whitehead says to me, "What's the matter, Chris? I'm half cut as well. Connie, I didn't come down here for this."
If they'd have wanted to kill Jack there, they could have killed him 20 times over, you know. But when a fight happens, it just sort of gets out of hand, and as you say, you go to win. You know, I don't think they said, "Oh, we'll get Jack down there because we're going to kill him," because there was no plans to bury him or do anything or whatever, you know. I don't think it was premeditated. Though they said to send the Lambriano's soppy nuts, Lambriano, to go and get him, you know. It wasn't. I don't think there was any sort of plan to murder anybody. It's beat fuck out of him, yeah, you know. But then all of a sudden, like, things go over the top.
Reggie thrust the knife into his face below the eye. The butchering followed as McVitie sank to his knees. Reggie stabbed his stump in his chest and finished by impaling him through the throat onto the floor. Reggie
They said to me, "Get rid of that. Throw it under a fucking train." And they'd gone then. That was the end of it. There we are, left with this, with Jack on the floor there.
There's Jack and Hat laying in the middle of the floor. I'm looking at him. I can't believe he's dead. This thing is snowballing. Flatware in is borrowed from a woman called Blonde Carol for this party. She could come back at any time, find a body in her house. We're not playing Cluedo here. This is real life. I go and get a bucket, plastic bucket, and a shovel, and there's all kind of livery stuff, congealed blood. Took it upstairs, go in the toilet, swill it away. Please God, don't let the children wake up, because if they come out they're going to find a body on the landing. Well, we got the body out and we tried to put it in the boot, as you see in these films, and that didn't work, so we put the body on the back seat. Tony then gets in it, he drives away, we're following him. We go on to the Rotherhithe Tunnel. We go through it, but we lose Tony. The lights went against us. We didn't want to attract any attention by racing through. We get to the other side and we don't know where Tony is, so we're going round in circles looking for him. We finally see him standing on a corner. We pull him, pick him up. "What have you done with it, Tony?"
As you come out of the tunnel, I down the right, and there was a church there, and there'd been a wedding. Now all I want to do is get rid of it. That, as far as I was concerned, you can't drive about with that, obviously, so it's just parked over by this church. I got out of the car and left it. I was picked up and we drove away. Here I am, gone out for a night's drinking, in wind-up involving the murder and disposing of someone's body. People say to me, "I've never done that, I couldn't have done that." But we're as guilty as anyone.
Quite frankly, I think they let us down. You know, if there's an honesty and a nobility, and I use that word in such as there's honour amongst thieves, you understand, then, you know, as the captains of the ship, they should have, when it was beyond the shadow of a doubt that there was no way that they could save themselves, was to try and save us.
Well, I think one knew it was going to come. There was no other sentence, I suppose, possible at the time. They've been typecast now as criminal celebrities, as celebrity villains, and the picture people have of them is really the picture that came over in that film of them called the Krays. And also, you know, all the sort of gangster reminiscences which have come out of them, which really carry one's knowledge of them no further. Of course they were gangsters, they committed murder and all the rest of it, but behind it all I think there was the most terrible, sad story, which is of these identical twins, and one of them was abnormal. He'd been damaged mentally as a child by getting, as far as I can make out, a combination of measles and diphtheria together. Ronnie wasn't normal. Reg was.
There's lots of people walking around in the East End of London that's been hit on the chin by Reggie, but I wouldn't say that about Ronnie. It'd be a different kettle of fish with Ronnie, because Ronnie wouldn't be happy with just hitting you on the chin. He'd look for you until he found you and he would hurt you. Simple as that. When they went away, as you know, like Ron got certified and everything like that, they still used to write to me. Ron done the painting for me, and his mother gave it to me from me. And every time I look at it, I'll get upset. There it is, where he signed it on the back. Ron Kray, and he calls it Swans on the Lake. Well, if he'd have given it to me, if I'd have been on a visit and he'd give it to me, I'd have told him to keep it. I didn't want it. It's a peculiar one. Have a look. Is this in colour? It upsets me to see. Look at you. It's a human being done this, a man, not a child. I would think that shows you the state of a person's mind myself. It's not a nice thing, it's a horrible thing, isn't it, really? To me, it's a bit pathetic. We did get from Reg at one time, he made this for my wife, for instance, in prison while he was away, which is this musical box. Plays music, that's about 30 years old. Yeah, play music. I'd have a job making that, you know, but I wouldn't have a job making that. I could do that with my eyes shut. I couldn't do that with my eyes shut. This brain is awake, isn't it? This brain is gone. That's the way I see the two things, and that's the difference between Reggie and Ronnie.
I know what fear is. I had nightmares today over what Ronnie Kray done to me, and I'm bloody glad he's dead and ducked him.
By the end, they were in a sort of mad gangster movie, you know, it was Stanley Kubrick plus.
Somebody told me that Reggie Kray sends letters out of prison with a photograph as he used to be, not as he is, because he lives in the past. Now, my argument is not that he lives in the past, is that nobody will let him live in the future. Nobody will let him live right now. No, I don't think society knows Reggie Kray. I think they've been presented with a TV dinner. That's Reggie Kray. There's nothing else to him. They've seen the books, they've seen the films, but they were all made by other people. They know nothing. They assume. And that's what he has to live with on a daily basis. It's where I had to live. And I look along this landing and I think about the hundreds, thousands that have gone behind the door of each cell. And how many people have been really rehabilitated? Not many. There was no rehabilitation for someone like me, as there really is no rehabilitation for somebody like Reggie Kray. Because we don't need it. It's non-existent. It's just a word in prison. We rehabilitate ourselves. We come to the conclusion of who we are and what we are and what's acceptable and what's decent, right and proper. I'd seen the absolute worst of human nature. I mean, I had messed up so many people's lives. Eventually it got to the stage where I couldn't wait to get back to the cell. that was the love affair, and I could shut the door and I could look out the sky. I'd seen nothing of nature for years, but here I could watch the starlings, and it never failed to amaze me about starlings. They could never be satisfied. The mother and father would run off and get them food, bring it back, bring it back, bring them back, and they forever had an open mouth. I watched robins and sparrows having dust baths, things I didn't know birds did, and I began to open up, and I began to look at nature in itself, and I saw that things died and things regenerated. I watched a tree, you know, in the summer, beautiful green, and the flowers came up, and in the autumn the leaves began to drop and they died and they went to nowhere. Where were the things of beauty? But I had to wait for another season for them to come back. And I found that in my own life. As I've lost things, maybe for a short span of time, maybe a long span of time, but they have come back. The beauty has come back. It's about now and the few years that remain. There's always time for turning and getting back something of what you lost.
I wanted to do Ronnie Kray. In fact, he would have been the first one. I had an opportunity to have done his death mask, which I didn't follow up at the time, and it was only afterwards when I saw how big the response was to his funerals, the biggest since Churchill's, that I thought, hello, there's something going on here. I think I better cast all the other villains before they pop off. Obviously he's passed away now, so I'd love to do Reggie Kray, because if you're talking about gangsters or criminals as icons, the first to represent and fulfill that title were the Kray twins. People that have been vilified by the media are now being feted on the celebrity circuit. Freddie Foreman, I used to work with the Krays. Obviously my father, I've done him, the chief planner of the Great Train Robbery. Mad Frankie Fraser, who's sort of like a gangman legend, 40 years in prison. He was sort of like torturing chief of the Richardsons. And lastly, Dave Courtney, who's the sort of inspiration for the character that Vinnie Jones played in Lock, Stock and Two Smoking Barrels.
Terrific pictures of you, they really are.
I'll use the biro. I can't even do joined up, mate.
He was responsible for the security for Ronnie Kray's funeral, and he is what I'd describe as sort of the first post-modern gangster. He's almost a work of art.
When Ron died, it was left almost automatically to me to do the security for the funeral, and I was more than happy to. In fact, I took it as an honour. For me, it's one of the proudest moments of my life. I never for 1 second thought I'd be able to even do his shoes up. I suppose every footballer aspires to be like Beckham, or every boxer wants to be Tyson, so every villain would like to be Krays. They're always romantic, like Jesse James, Bonnie and Clyde. They're all romantic figures, and they were just a romantic figure of the day, you know, like lovely clothes, nice smart suits and ties, always had lovely cars, pretty ladies, you know, nightclubs, sparkly things, you know, it's very easy to fall into the trap of a little bit of hero worship when you're young.
March the 5th, 1969, identical twins, Reginald and Ronald Kray, were sentenced to life imprisonment. They were 35 years old.
Photo I've had since I'm 19. Like I say, when I first got interested with the twins, and I think they are a very good print. I've got a portfolio, what I've had for about 5 or 6 years, and this is one of my prized possessions, and it's got a lot of photos in here, what you never see in books, or TV. I've been involved with the Twins for 10 years, collecting different stuff, attending different parties, and there's not no dull parts about it.
An awful lot of people that are Reggie Kray fans are not villains at all. They're just in love with the myth.
There's very different stuff you can buy, collect, different bits and pieces.
I'll be honest, the authorities are not solely to blame here. Reg courts the press. Had they not kept the myth alive, it would have been out. But in keeping the actual myth alive, it sort of sealed his fate.
No question, all eyes are on this guy, Mr. Reginald Kray. He's a celebrity. And I think, in a funny way, it's this that's seen him through. You know, if you're serving 30-odd years, you've got to have something to sustain you. And if you know that people outside are fascinated by you, if you've had a film made about you, if people have written books about you, you're a somebody.
Why is Reggie Kray still in jail? The answers seem to me to be as follows. 1, no reason at all. It's just the usual inertia, cock up, no one can quite work out how to get him out. 2, he hasn't gone through his proper remorse program. He hasn't said the right things to people and thus isn't psychologically able to get out. 3, he's a risk to the public because he's still perhaps a criminal, possibly got some sort of psychological problems. I can certainly exclude that. 4, that there's a sense in which he is an example of villainy, and thus keeping him behind the bars is a signal and a warning to all potential junior Krays coming out of the system. 5, it's some kind of concern or conspiracy about keeping him there because when he's there he won't say things that he might say outside of jail, i.e. he knows something that the establishment wants to cover up. I don't believe that, but the more they keep him behind bars, unnecessarily in my view, the more people start thinking along those lines.
Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed the video, please join our Facebook group. It's called Krays Crime Lords of London. We're a friendly, moderated group with over 1,000 Kray and other celebrated gangster videos available for view. There's also thousands of images in the photos sections. The link for the group is in the YouTube description section. I hope we see you there soon.